Hi, everyone. My name is Suzanne Clemens, and I am one of the pastors at Trinity United Methodist Church in downtown Lafayette, Indiana. And I'm also a certified spiritual director, and it is a joy for me to be sharing the message with you today. And I'm going to begin by going back to the late 1960s and sharing a story about my father in law, whose name was Loren Clemens. And at this time, he was early in his career of ministry as a United Methodist pastor. And he was serving a church in Gary, Indiana. And this was at the height of the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement, and also during an intense time of social and cultural change in Gary and in much of the United States, really. And my father-in-law, who from now on I'll just refer to as Dad, well, he was trying to listen to and understand and respond to the needs of the increasingly diverse community that he was serving. And one of the things that he chose to do to equip himself was to participate in an urban immersive experience called the Plunge that had been organized in Chicago by the community activist Saul Alinsky. And Alinsky was the son of Russian Jewish immigrants. And Alinsky had grown up in poverty in Chicago and had become an advocate for racial and economic justice. And in a nutshell, Dad, after receiving training on how to handle himself during this plunge experience, which included having time to grow out his beard so that he could better pass as someone who lived on the streets. Well, he was dropped off in downtown Chicago with nothing but the clothes on his back, and he would spend a week on the streets, all on his own. He had to figure out where he was going to spend each night, and every day he sought out lines where day workers would huddle together, hoping that someone would hire him for a few hours so that he could have money for food. One night he slept in a doorway. One day he went into a theater and tried to spend some time inside getting warm and resting, because it just so happened that this was the coldest week of the year in Chicago that year. But the theater owners saw him in there and made him get out. There was a mission downtown where he could get a bed at night, but he found that he was required to attend a worship service before he could sleep there, and this really frustrated him, the way that faith was being forced on people who were vulnerable. And then in this mission, before he could get a bed, he was made to take a shower and change clothes, and he had to wear a really tight-fitting t-shirt, and that was all he was permitted to wear there at night, and so that was very awkward as well. And finally, right as the experience was about to end, while sleeping on a bench one night in a bus station, his glasses were stolen. And because Dad was blind as a bat without his glasses and couldn't see anything, he called my mother late that night to come and pick him up. On the one hand, he ended this experience literally not being able to see anything. But on the other hand, his eyes had been opened that week in ways that he could not have foreseen. This experience was life-changing for Dad. It deepened an empathy for folks who are vulnerable and an understanding of the forces that keep them vulnerable. He was able to really see them and see them in the fullness of their humanity. And though he himself had grown up in rural poverty, he'd always had a roof over his head and food on the table. He'd never before stood that close to desperation and entrenched inequality. He had never needed to depend on the generosity of strangers. And the experience also sharpened his sensitivity to the ways that faith can be misused to try to shape people. And I also want to say that in sharing the story, I'm not voicing, overall support for immersion experiences like this per se. I think they're complicated, and depending upon how they're carried out, they can be exploitative. So there's that. And also, if you're curious and you go and Google urban plunge today, you'll see that these still exist, but they don't look anything like the experience that a dad had in the 60s. So my dad went out vulnerably, not to affect change in others, but to open himself to deeper understanding, to deeper compassion, to better see people in their lived experience, and to grapple what unconditional love and mercy and healing can look like in his context. And he had to put aside his own preferences and habits and comforts. He was at the mercy of the people he encountered in the city. Would hospitality be extended to him? Would he be looked at through eyes of loving kindness? Would people see him and attend to him? Would they truly want the best for him? And he didn't know from moment to moment if he would encounter acceptance or face rejection. Would others see the face of Christ in him? And as I reflect on our gospel text, I wonder about the experience of the disciples as Jesus sends out the 72 to new places where they arrive as strangers. They're told to travel with nothing. They're to arrive vulnerable. And they're instructed to go with the first person who takes them in, right? Not to be on the lookout for nice accommodations or someone that they think that they might get along with. They're to graciously accept whatever lodging and food is offered, and in doing so, to show honor and respect for their host. In doing that, they're also extending peace to their hosts, because their presence or their purpose is to be fully present to them, to see them as children of God, to express genuine care for their well-being. In every house they enter, they're to interact with folks in this way. And interestingly, Jesus tells them that their words and their peaceful presence will be received only if there is already a person of peace in that house. And there's a sense that when persons of peace, who see the God spark in each other and who encounter each other in vulnerability, when they come together, that there's no limit to the healing and restoration of minds, bodies, and communities that can take place through the power of the Spirit working within them. And the disciples, they come back astounded by the healing and transformation that takes place between them and these new people they've met who are seeking and living in peace. And I'm really struck by the fact that this going out in vulnerability, it seems mostly to be about the way it shapes the disciples in their trust and faith in God's power and in God's way of peace. The focus here is not on the people that they're going out to meet. This text is about the spiritual development of the disciples. And how God, through His grace, prepares them and works healing within them and others when their encounters are marked by peace and vulnerability. The 72 disciples are also told that they're just as likely to encounter households in which a spirit of peace is not present. They're going to encounter plenty of places where they're not welcomed. That's just the way that it is. And they're told just not to stay. They're not instructed in any persuasive techniques to make the message of peace take hold. They're just told to shake the dust off their feet as they leave, perhaps because they're not supposed to carry any residue of frustration or disappointment or judgment with them. And as they leave, as they walk away, they're still to speak words of peace and to tell everyone that God is near, that God is with them, that the goodness of God is already within them and among them, if only they could just see it. If only they could see it. If only they could see the beautiful image of God in themselves and in others. If only they could see the goodness breaking in around them. So, friends, do you have eyes to see the God spark in everyone who you encounter? Where do you see the goodness of God on display in our world today? Where do you see the Spirit moving, creating, renewing, restoring? As Christians, we know, right, that goodness is not about feeling good, but about the state of our souls and our communities when we are in right relationship with God and each other, and the peace that brings. So where are you seeking and focusing? Can you see and sense God's goodness coming to be? Or, if you are someone who's struggling right now, what are the stories of hope and healing that inspire and ground you? What are your experiences and memories of restoration and reconciliation, of God's saving grace right when you have needed it? And how do you rest in those memories and experiences? Because it's important that you rest in and lean in those places and spaces of grace, so that when you have an opportunity in the future to step out in vulnerability, when you have an opportunity to extend full and genuine peace to another, because I know very soon you will have these opportunities, that you'll be able to be vulnerable and to extend peace, and do it freely and abundantly, and also free of concern with whether or not your peace is returned to you. In the tender compassion of our God, the dawn from on high shall break upon us, to shine on those who dwell in darkness and the shadow of death, and to guide our feet in the way of peace. As each of you go out this week, go with this prayer from Saint Teresa of Avila. Christ has no body but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes with which he looks compassionately on this world. Yours are the feet with which he walks to do good. Yours are the hands with which he blesses all the world. So go, knowing that God's peace is in you, is with you, and awaits you. Amen.